For more on the latest developments in the race for the White House, I'm joined now by Democratic strategist Faz Shakir and Republican strategist Doug Heye. Good to see you both.
Good to be with you.
Let's talk about this newfound enthusiasm that we're seeing in the last 24 hours in particular. Doug, 36 million raised by this ticket in the last 24 hours. That's on top of over 300 million that Harris raised in July. There's an undeniable energy here. Is that worrying for Republicans?
Well, it should be. And but also I think Republicans should step back and be realistic about where things are. Democrats are very enthusiastic. They're united now, no doubt about it. Part of that is because they've moved from existential dread to happiness, right? So if you're a team in basketball and you're down 9 points and you've hit 2 or 3 baskets in a row, you feel that you have the lead even if you do or you don't. And polling still coming in saying both things. And a lot of this fundraising that's come in, impressive numbers, absolutely, sort of the low-hanging fruit, a lot of it from people who weren't going to give money if Biden was at the top of the ticket. And once Joe said, I'm out, then Democrats were able to start doing that. They've also benefited from a tremendous amount of almost exclusive positive media for Harris and now for Walz. I think the hardest thing, and I'm being literal when I say this, the hardest thing about Kamala Harris in the Washington Post today was she has an unorthodox way of slicing onions, but otherwise she is an amazing cook. That was actually in the Washington Post. So Mike Tyson taught us everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face. This campaign at some point is going to get hit in the face because every campaign does. How do they react to that? Is Kamala Harris a good candidate in a way that she wasn't when she ran for president the first time and didn't really have much of a real Senate race first time? That's what we've got to find out. We're not going to learn that in the next 2 or 3 days, but we're certainly going to learn it in the next 90.
Faz, is this a honeymoon period for the ticket? Is that what we're seeing in the surge of donations and crowds?
That's certainly true, but also the tactics being employed by the Harris campaign, their operatives around them, they're fantastic. From the moment, the 30 seconds after President Biden put out his statement saying, I'm not running, and then proceeded to endorse Kamala Harris, from that moment on, execution has been A-level from the Kamala Harris campaign all the way through this vice presidential nomination. They have given confidence that the tone is sharper. She is prepared to get on the road and make an argument. The words about how they describe Trump are very effective. They're persuasive. And my only caution here, because I'm very excited, I'm like most of the Democrats right now, I'm very happy about the trajectory of it. Caution is that Donald Trump has been on the ticket twice before, 2016, 2020. In each of those elections, he outperformed what people thought he was going to get on Election Day. The one that scares me the most is 2020. We were in chaos. I mean, the country was spiraling downwards. He had gotten COVID. Things were just not looking great. You look at the election turnout on that day, we're talking small margins in Arizona, small margins in Wisconsin. He exceeded expectations with his turnout. So I say to all Democrats who are excited now, man, you're going to have that 81 million plus number of votes because he's going to have a lot.
And so I agree with all of that. One, the Harris team, the aides, the job that they've done in sealing it all up for the vice president very quickly, no leaks. They've done an extraordinarily good job just tactically as political operators. And then the second point is, though, if you're a Democrat and you've got this rush of enthusiasm, a lot of it seems that they've come home from Halloween, they've ripped open the bags, and they've had all the candy, and that sugar high is there. But to your point, Donald Trump can win this. This race is not only not over, it's so early to even be talking about it being over.
So let's talk about where we are now then. Faz, to that point that you raised, that we're still in this really getting to know who Walz is phase in the first place. We've seen a very controlled message coming out, right? Just today there was this People magazine feature of him talking more about his family, a more personal side, sharing that his son Gus has a nonverbal learning disorder and anxiety, and something millions of Americans can relate to. He and his wife Gwen have talked about using IVF to start their family. There's a lot of personal ties here to what they're doing. But it's early, so where is this ticket vulnerable? Where do you see Republicans' most potent attack against this ticket?
Well, before we get into vulnerable, what a huge asset. He's a unique political communicator, and not because he's like Barack Obama or somebody who just knows how to deliver a fantastic address off a prompter. He's a unique political communicator in that he sits down at this table, he starts making you feel good. He's regaling. I'm interested in what Tim Walz has to say about ice fishing. I'm interested in what he has to say about football. It's just, there's a unique, we know these people who are gregarious, outgoing, affable, who when in a room care about everybody else in the room. And it's weird in politics because we're so used to narcissism that somebody would walk into the room and just be like, I care how you're doing. That's really great. I want you to succeed. And that's Tim Walz. So I'm very fired up about it. The liabilities are, of course, he's new to a lot of people, and they're going to define him. You saw this Bernie Sanders stuff, which I welcome, by the way. You ran Bernie Sanders' campaign. Go ahead. The things that Bernie Sanders is known of, on honesty and authenticity of standing up to power, particularly corporate power, particularly standing on behalf of working people. If that's how they want to describe Tim Walz, I agree. Let's go and define him. But they're going to play some games to try to change how you view what is otherwise an amazing human being and an amazing ticket in Harris Walz.
We haven't really seen a consistent line of attack against Vice President Harris. I think that's fair to say so far. Does the addition of Governor Walz give Trump-Vance ticket a sort of more organized strategy? And what is that? How do they attack this ticket?
Well, it can, because he's certainly from more part of the left of the party. He's certainly not, a blue dog Democrat or even a moderate Democrat. But ultimately, vice presidential nominees can help in the margins. They can hurt in the margins to some extent. And this is a race that certainly will be in margins here or there. We're talking about a few states. But we should remind ourselves, this is Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. That's it. It's not JD versus Tim. They may have a debate. They may not. We'll see. We'll all tune in. We'll all overanalyze it. But we know what the main event is, whether we have a debate or not. And it goes down to those issues that voters are telling us the most loudly that they care about. And yes, the RNC has a big book on Kamala Harris. They're still compiling theirs on Tim Walz. The DNC, same thing. But voters care about what's going on in their daily lives. That starts with what they spend on things every day and the anger that they have, very real anger, when they buy a sandwich, when they decide they're not going to go to the movies because it's too expensive, and all those things. They're upset about what's happening at the border and how that's affected their communities. Some of them are upset, especially suburban women, about access to abortion. That's where Walz can be beneficial on IVF. But it goes down to those core issues. Those other things that we'll sort of distract ourselves with, they're just distractions.
In the few seconds we have left, the economy remains the most important issue, right? Is there another event of some kind, like a debate, that you think could open this up beyond what we know will be a very tight election?
The economy, we've seen some signs in the market that are recessions coming, are bad economic indicators coming. That would obviously change the nature of the race. But that said, I think the Democratic ticket wants a debate about the economy, because if they're cutting Social Security and Medicare, you want to privatize, Medicare. I don't think it's going to work, but you have to engage that debate if those data come.
Democratic strategist Faiz Shakir, Republican strategist Doug Heye. Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.